In 2017, Zack Snyder stepped away from Justice League due to a family tragedy, and Warner Brothers hired Joss Whedon to take over post-production duties. The decision was then made for Whedon to rewrite and reshoot the majority of the movie in a misguided attempt to inject his Avengers brand of lightheartedness into the darker direction of Snyder's DC stories. And I think it's fair to say that the final product left a lot to be desired. While it did have its moments, it felt like a movie constantly at war with itself over what it wanted to be. The tone was scattered all over the place like a 7-year-old's Funko Pop collection after a temper tantrum. That's it, no dessert for you tonight, Colin. You are going to stay in your room and think about what you've done. A significant group of fans then started campaigning for Warner Brothers to allow Snyder to return and realize his original vision. I'll admit, I was a Snyder Cut skeptic. I thought the Snyder Cut was this mythical concept, this optimistic belief, this hope that fans were just latching onto because they didn't get the movie they wanted. It's not that I didn't want to see it. In fact, I thought his director's cut of Watchmen was brilliant, and it remains to be one of my favorite superhero movies ever. I just didn't think a Justice League Snyder Cut was something that could possibly come to fruition. A director's cut of a box office disappointment that a major movie studio is trying to forget when they're already moving on to a more standalone approach to their DC movies? Yeah, I didn't think so. Well, it's 3 years later, and I have never been happier to be proven wrong. The Snyder Cut in all its glory is here. It's amazing how this happened. It's actually kinda inspiring me to make my own superhero team-up movie. But the thing is, it seems like every superhero team under the sun has been taken. Wait a minute. I think I found it. This is the one. I think I found the one superhero team that hasn't had a big blockbuster movie. Look out, world. Here comes the Sense of Right Alliance.
We did it, team. The world has been saved from certain doom, and it couldn't have been done without the combined heroism of all the races of Earth. Men, Kryptonians, ogres, and cars.
As long as there is evil lurking in the shadows, we'll be there to bring peace and restore the sense of right.
Say that again.
The sense of right?
It's settled then. From this day forth, let evildoers tremble at the might of the Sense of Right Alliance.
Ka-chow. Okay, cut! That was great, guys. We got it.
Dang, man, cute. This movie is going to be amazing. This is going to go down in history as the Citizen Kane of superhero movies. Or dare I say, the how Stella got her groove back of superhero movies.
Yep, the Sense of Right Alliance will finally have their long overdue silver screen debut.
We still got to reshoot a couple of scenes. There were a few times that I left the lens cap on. Can probably wrap things up here if you wanted to get back to the review.
Oh yeah, sure thing.
Yeah, just sit right there at the snack table.
Okay. The plot is fundamentally identical to the theatrical cut. So if you've seen that, the Snyder Cut still hits the same major story beats. Earth is mourning Superman's death even though half the world hated him in the last movie. And with the loss of the planet's most powerful protector, an alien invader named Steppenwolf arrives with an army of parademons with the goal of reclaiming 3 mother boxes hidden by the 3 armies of Earth: Amazons, Atlanteans, and men. So the Amazons and Atlanteans protect these dangerous artifacts in these grand strongholds, probably imbued with incredible sorcery, with their most powerful warriors dedicated to guarding it. And what do we humans do with our mother box? Just bury it under some dirt in a 6-foot deep hole. These guys are practically begging for someone's dog to dig it up next week and cause the end of the universe. Batman starts to assemble a team of metahumans to come together and try to resurrect their beacon of hope, Superman, despite the fact that none of them really knew him and Batman tried to kill him. At a whopping 4 hours, it was a smart move to split this up into 7 easy-to-digest chapters, so you can stop and start at your own pace. I watched this over 2 nights, but I don't think it would be a headache to get through the film in one sitting. It's paced quite well and greatly benefits from the longer runtime. If you're not a fan of Snyder's style and his interpretations of these characters, this is not gonna turn you around. This movie is unapologetically filled to the brim with Snyderisms, from the egregious abuse of slow motion and the washed-out color palette to the artsy music music video intros for all the lead characters. I mean, the man literally has his name all over this. I'm not kidding when I say there's a 2 to 4 minute slow motion avant-garde music video dedicated to so many characters in the first act. It's pretty ridiculous. If you disagreed with the creative choices in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, this movie really isn't gonna change your mind. That being said, I do believe this is one of the best movies he's ever worked on, and it feels like a worthy follow-up to those previous 2 DC movies. Considering that Snyder's had 3 to 4 years to sit on this and develop these ideas, this is the best version of this movie that we're ever going to get. I was pleasantly surprised to see the few things I loved in the theatrical cut make a return. The Flash's oh crap moment when he was trying to outrun a peeved off resurrected Superman was one of the most memorable scenes of the original release, and I am so happy that it's still here. And at the same time, all the stuff that didn't quite work from the theatrical cut, they're nowhere to be seen here. The 2017 Justice League had terribly forced one-liners and an extremely tacked-on Russian family that needed saving in a desperate attempt to humanize the League in the final battle. Why was this random family living in a radioactive fallout zone anyway? Even if they did get saved, it's not gonna be long before they die of radiation poisoning. So yes, all the stuff you liked from the 2017 cut are here, and they feel bigger and better than ever, and all the stuff that didn't work is gone. And because of that, this is a far superior and more rewatchable film in every way, and it's going to be difficult to return to the original version. The differences here are night and day. It truly feels like a completely different movie with just a handful of shared scenes in common. I'd say this probably has around 10% of footage in common with the theatrical cut. And on top of that, those scenes are extended and given more weight and urgency surrounded by the new context.
And cut. Alright guys, we need at least 10 more lens flares up in here.
Wait, what's going on here? Who are you?
Lazarus Rhinestone. You know me. 3-time Razzie Award-winning director of Hungry Hungry Hippos 3, Resurrection. The studio hired me to punch up the script a little bit and just reshoot some stuff here and there.
What? And what happened to Haru?
Oh, he had some prior engagements.
So, what's this thing with the reshoots?
So, I looked over the scenes where the Blue Ranger was using a gun, and we decided that was going to be a bit too scary for the kiddywinks. I want this to be something my 23-year-old can watch. So we decided to just CG the gun out and replace it with a walkie-talkie. Check it out.
You can't hold them off forever, Batman!
Seamless, right?
And how did Shrek grow facial hair so quickly? I was gone for like 2 minutes.
Ogres get accelerated hair growth when they're in heat.
Ugh.
Shrek had to grow a mustache for that new spy movie he's in, Shrek-to-Pussy. I know this looks like a problem, but we can fix it in post, baby. It's fine.
Let's scramble, team. Although, I do like my eggs ogre easy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the review.
Fix it in post, that's what I always say. Lazarus Rhinestone. Yeah.
Anyway, Zack Snyder's Justice League gets to expand upon several plot threads introduced in BVS that were abandoned in the theatrical cut, most notably the nightmare sequence. We finally get a good understanding of what he was trying to lay out, and the nightmare scenes here are some of the most thrilling and fresh surprises in store. Whether or not these story ideas will ever have the chance to be followed up on is a whole other discussion, but they were cool nonetheless. Other scenes that were simply brushed over in the original cut were also given more time. The brief flashback of all the armies of Earth going up against Darkseid and the Parademons is a lot beefier and is one of the most jaw-dropping set pieces of this new version. There's also more of a proper explanation as to how the Mother Boxes and the Parademons work, and how they fit into Darkseid's plan. The film spends much more time establishing the history and the power of the villains, the Mother Boxes, and the anti-life equation. Yes, the Mother Boxes are still blatant MacGuffins, and the villains still all have the same cliched, conquer the universe motives, but they do feel like more of a threat, and the stakes feel much higher, resulting in a true epic that a movie about the Justice League should be. Steppenwolf's revised design looks absolutely monstrous. He's much scarier than he was in the theatrical cut, and he even gets some surprising instances of character depth. Just look at the face he makes when he's told he owes Darkseid 50,000 worlds.
You still owe the Great One 50,000 more worlds.
It's like he was just told how much he owes in student loans. I love it. He's just like, The doubled runtime also lets the character development and themes have more time to breathe. We get more of Batfleck, Jason Momoa as Aquaman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, who is actually called Wonder Woman in this.
Wonder Woman.
But the most striking differences here are with the Flash and Cyborg, who never had their own solo movies and were severely underutilized in the theatrical cut. Here they feel less like supporting players, and are now fleshed out complex characters with compelling arcs. Sure, Ezra Miller's Barry Allen still fills the role of being a youthful, hyperactive comic relief, but this time the movie lets him be a lot bigger than that. He'll get on your nerves now and then, but he brings some good humor and levity in places where it gets too heavy, and it's never to a point that they overdo it or it comes off as forced. Barry shows some real character growth, from this uncertain young man who hasn't found his place to a hero who literally saves the world in one of the film's most breathtaking sequences. The Flash absolutely steals the show with the spectacular way his powers are portrayed on screen. It almost makes you forget about his goofy-ass run. Almost. The Frankenstein parallels with Cyborg's arc are even stronger here too, as we get to delve deeper into his strained relationship with his father and the terrifying implications of his ability to access all technology, and somehow put together broken cassette players. Okay? Snyder always intended to have Cyborg be the heart of this movie, and Ray Fisher's performance really sells it. He's a character that's so overcome by grief and loss but still manages to rise up again. And that's what helps bring all these characters together. They've all been broken by the loss of a loved one, and forced to continue in a world that no longer makes sense to them. The theme of dealing with grief and loneliness is the emotional core of the movie, and it elevates Zack Snyder's Justice League to be more than just a simple superhero beat-em-up. And it makes the payoff of the team working together to be that much more powerful. Overall, there's an effort to make these characters feel more human, and in a massive contrast with Man of Steel and BVS, they're more hopeful and inspiring. They're shown saving people. Of course, Snyder still frames them as these larger-than-life mythological figures like modern-day Greek gods, but they still carry a lot of vulnerability, and they struggle to live up to the myths that people believe they are. Now, that doesn't mean the film is free from its fair share of flaws. The reshoots of Martian Manhunter's cameos don't add anything, and honestly undermine the significance of one of the movie's most emotional scenes, of Lois Lane and Martha Kent's conversation about moving on from Clark's passing. Turns out that wasn't Martha the whole time. It was a random alien dude with nothing better to do than pretend to be a grieving old lady. The movie also contains two of my most hated tropes in film. Trope 1. Character says some scientific technobabble, and for the sake of the audience, another character says English.
I can override the security protocols, but there's no time to repair all the electrical damage that Luthor's power surges caused to the primary capacitors.
English.
There's not enough charge to wake the box.
That's just bad writing. Trope 2. Please, please, please stop using the superhero Jesus pose. I get that Snyder wants to portray these heroes as gods and Superman came back from the dead and everything, but this is one of the laziest, most painfully obvious pieces of imagery you can ever use in a superhero movie. It's overused to the point of being insulting now. Heck, Snyder used this exact same image in Man of Steel. Twice! Put your friggin' arms down, Superman. Stop T-posing. Man, I really despise that trope. I would never put that in my movie. Oh, yo, seriously, dude? Come on.
Ah, yes. This shot symbolizes the...
Yes, I know what it symbolizes. Everyone knows what it symbolizes. I feel like all of this is compromising my how do you say, my creative vision. Wait a minute, did you recast Batman?
Kabuki, baby. This is Hollywood. We recast Batman every few weeks.
It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me.
How is all this going to work with the scenes we already shot?
I can assure you, we're making a huge effort to make sure the new scenes flow nicely with what you've already shot. We're fully committed to maintaining perfect continuity.
It doesn't seem like you are.
Of course we are. Continuity is extremely important.
I mean, I agree, but it just doesn't seem like...
Extremely important.
The DCEU has had some misfires, but this certainly isn't one of them. I'm glad that Zack and Deborah Snyder got a chance to revisit this project and accomplish what they set out to do. I have a ton of respect for them, and while it's far from a perfect movie, this is the definitive version of this story. Justice League finally feels like the triumphant epic that it deserves to be. A singular vision years in the making that feels self-contained while still opening the door for future stories. It's a 4-hour journey that unashamedly relishes in all of its heart-pounding action scenes and larger-than-life characters. Despite coming out on a streaming streaming service, this truly feels like pure event cinema. This could possibly be Zack Snyder's final hurrah in the tapestry of the DCEU moving forward, and if so, then what a note to end on. I give Zack Snyder's Justice League a score of some ancient lamentation music. Are you sure this is gonna work, man?
Absolutely. I think this 25-minute scene of Superman buying groceries is really gonna be the emotional crux of this whole film. I think we've both created a sense of right and alliance that everyone's gonna fall in love with. The world might not be ready for this, but they better damn well get ready.
Please tell me you've got a plan B, because my gun's running out!
This is for Donkey!
I don't think they were ready.
I gotta pee. Hello? I really gotta pee, man. I need to take a